No one saw this coming. Lil Durk just pulled off one of the boldest escapes in hip-hop history. Against all odds, the Chicago rapper, known for his loyalty and street connections, broke free from a Miami prison and slipped out of the country. Now, fans and critics are buzzing with rumors about his next move and where he might be hiding. If Durk has indeed managed to evade the authorities and find a new hideout, this could be one of the wildest turns in rap history. This story is only getting started. Lil Durk's escape plan sounded like something out of a movie. When members of his Only the Family crew were arrested for a rumored murder for hire plot, Durk knew he had to act fast. With federal agents likely closing in, he devised an escape strategy to throw them off his trail and buy himself time to disappear. Instead of simply booking a single flight, he created a complicated plan involving multiple international tickets to confuse anyone trying to track him. According to sources, Durk didn't rely on just one flight to escape. Instead, he made a series of moves to outsmart the agents on his trail. First, he booked 2 commercial flights, one to Dubai and another to Switzerland. Why those places? Dubai doesn't have an extradition treaty with the US, meaning it would be harder for authorities to bring him back if he reached there. Switzerland, with its neutral stance, could have served as a safe place to lay low. Here's the unexpected twist: Lil Durk had never planned to take those flights to Dubai or Switzerland. Instead, they were a clever diversion, a smokescreen set up to confuse anyone tracking his movements, whether digitally or physically. He knew that multiple tickets to international destinations would create a digital trail that investigators would have to follow, giving him just enough time to execute his real escape. The true plan was hidden in a third, more discreet ticket, a private jet flight to Italy. Italy, he likely reasoned, could offer him a place to settle with less immediate scrutiny. Unlike commercial flights, where passengers are subject to thorough checks and tighter security, a private jet would give him a smoother and quieter departure, avoiding the typical airport protocols. With private aviation, Durk could bypass long security lines and minimize interactions with airport staff, making it easier for him to slip away unnoticed. The decoy flights to Dubai and Switzerland were meant to keep federal agents occupied on a wild chase across 2 continents while he made his escape out of the country through a more private, controlled route. In Durk's mind, this was a meticulously planned getaway. He'd banked on the agents focusing on his commercial flight bookings, assuming it would take time for them to investigate his multiple reservations and figure out his true intentions. He likely anticipated that by the time they realized he wasn't heading to Dubai or Switzerland, he'd already be soaring comfortably toward Italy, leaving behind any chance of immediate capture. At the critical moment, agents closed in on Durk at the private jet terminal, thwarting his escape just before he could board the flight to Italy. They stopped him right on the tarmac, preventing his carefully laid plans from reaching their final stage. Despite his belief that his misdirection tactics would throw the authorities off his trail, the agents had been one step ahead all along. This calculated move to use decoy flights as a distraction ultimately backfired, as the authorities' close coordination and sharp observation kept them right on his tail. In the end, the agents' unwavering focus on tracking his every reservation and the high-level coordination across multiple airports and jurisdictions brought his elaborate escape plan to a halt. Durk had hoped to outwit the federal agencies with his complex plan, but their persistence and real-time tracking left him grounded with no escape in sight. In the end, U.S. Marshals managed to intercept Lil Durk just moments before he could board the private jet intended to take him to Italy. The arrest took place in Florida on Friday, October 25th, with authorities charging Durk with conspiracy. Allegedly, he was involved in planning a targeted hit on fellow rapper Quando Rondo. According to federal prosecutors, this plot ultimately resulted in the death of Quando Rondo's cousin, Savia Robinson. Due to the severity of these charges, Durk is currently being held without bail, a measure often reserved for cases where authorities believe the suspect poses a significant flight risk or danger to the community. This arrest signifies a major shift for Durk, who has spent years establishing his career in the music industry and building a reputation as one of Chicago's most notable rappers. However, the allegations he faces now threaten to strip it all away, with potentially lifelong consequences. If convicted, Durk could be looking at the maximum penalty that federal law allows: life in prison. For a high-profile rapper like Durk, this outcome would mean trading the stage and his freedom for a life in a federal prison cell, a dramatic and sobering turn for someone whose music and persona have become influential in the hip-hop world. In a public statement on the case, U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada delivered a powerful condemnation of the alleged crime. Estrada described the incident as cold-blooded and highlighted that it went beyond affecting just the intended target. According to him, the violent act also endangered innocent bystanders, as it took place in a public space, specifically a gas station at a busy intersection. This detail underscores the recklessness of the crime and the broader risk it posed to the surrounding community. Estrada was explicit in his criticism, emphasizing that the justice system has zero tolerance for violent crimes that endanger innocent lives, particularly those that happen in such a careless and public manner. The fact that the alleged crime unfolded in a public setting only amplifies the seriousness of the charges. Federal authorities view this as an offense that not only sought to harm a specific individual, but also disregarded the safety of the community at large. This kind of violent, high-stakes behavior, according to Estrada, leaves no room for leniency in the eyes of the law, particularly in cases where callous acts of violence put entire communities at risk. As reports indicate, Durk's legal team is now working intensely to prepare his defense. However, the charges are severe, and the evidence presented by federal agents who tracked his every move, from complex flight plans to his final private jet attempt, shows the extensive level of attention and coordination that law enforcement is dedicating to this case. The stakes couldn't be higher for Durk, who now faces a legal battle that could alter the course of his life, with the very real possibility of losing his freedom and career for good. Lil Durk's legal team is assembling a strong defense strategy, aiming to clear his name and counter the serious conspiracy charges he's facing. Durk has openly stated his intention to plead not guilty, a clear indication that he's prepared to contest these allegations in court. However, it's evident that he is up against a formidable challenge. Federal charges, especially ones carrying severe penalties, mean Durk faces a highly complex legal process. The federal government's involvement adds an extra layer of scrutiny, as they often bring significant resources and thorough investigation to cases like this, making the stakes extraordinarily high. The potential consequences of a life sentence are immense. For Durk, this isn't just about the years he could spend in prison, it's about everything he stands to lose. A conviction would mean not only the end of his freedom, but also the end of a career he has carefully built over the years. Durk rose from difficult beginnings to achieve success in the music world, using his platform to gain recognition and elevate those close to him. Now he faces the possibility of having that legacy erased. Beyond his career, a life sentence would have a lasting impact on his family and loved ones, taking him away from the people who depend on him and essentially ending any future he envisioned outside of a prison cell. The feud that ultimately brought Lil Durk and his OTF Only the Family crew into this legal situation traces back to a tragic event on November 6, 2020. On that night, King Von, one of Durk's closest friends and a fellow OTF rapper, was shot and killed outside a club in Atlanta. King Von's death wasn't just a personal loss for Durk, it was a highly publicized event that sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. Reports suggest that the person who pulled the trigger was an associate of Quando Rondo, a rapper whose crew had long-standing tensions with Durk's circle. The incident rapidly escalated the animosity between the two camps, turning it into an intense and public rivalry.